if Taliban continue to send positive signals, do you think in the years to come or in the months to come, America can recognize Taliban administration as an independent government?
The Taliban will have to actually reconsider some of their policies, and the Americans will have to reconsider some of their policies. Pakistan's relations with the Taliban regime in Kabul is very tense. Pakistan obviously cannot go and negotiate with the Taliban, so the Americans have to do it themselves.
What is India's interest in Afghanistan? What could be the motive behind?
I do believe that Indians are heavily involved in Balochistan, and they will continue to stay involved as long as we allow them to do so.
Do you think that once again Pakistan will be in a position to convince Taliban that Pakistan is their only sincere friend? They need to be sincere with Pakistan too.
I do not understand when we use the word sincerity in diplomatic relations and relations between countries. Sincerity, religion, love do not play a major role in relations between countries. Pakistan is an important country for the Taliban.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in We News English. Dear viewers, Afghanistan is again in the global spotlight. On one hand, Afghanistan got the attention of Americans, and on the other hand, again after a couple of years, Pakistan's Special Representative Ambassador Sadiq visited Kabul. But most significant was visit by former American ambassador to Afghanistan and former Special Representative on Afghanistan, Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad, had held meeting with top Taliban officials in Kabul. It was an extraordinary visit, sudden visit, and as a result of talks between Americans and Kabul administration, an American hostage was released by Taliban administration. In return, there was another significant development. The acting Interior Minister of Afghanistan, Mr. Sirajuddin Haqqani's name was removed from FBI's list as most wanted. Not only this, the announcement of bounty for Sirajuddin Haqqani has also suddenly been removed by Americans. Do we see this important development and this visit can bring Taliban and Americans close in the days to come? What is message for Pakistan? Pakistan need to get worried that Americans and Kabul administration is getting closer. To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us senior journalist, analyst, Mr. Anwar Iqbal from Washington. Very warm welcome to Program Insight, Anwar Iqbal Saab. And I will just start with this. That how do you see this recent visit by former Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad to Kabul?
Very important. It indicated one thing very clearly, that the Trump administration is willing to deal with anyone at any forum as long as it achieves its target. In this case, the target was to get the release of an American prisoner, and they succeeded in it. They got him out, even though the United States does not have diplomatic relations with Kabul, and that it does not recognize the Taliban government. Yet they did not hesitate to send an American, a senior American envoy, even though he's a former envoy, but he's considered close to the Republican Party. He has played a key role in implementing the U.S. policy for Central Asia and Afghanistan, the Middle East, Pakistan, whenever the Republicans were in power under the Bush administration, under the first administration of President Donald Trump. He is the one who negotiated the deal with the Taliban, and he is once again in action. And sending him was a calculated move, because when this thing was raised at the State Department, that you do not have diplomatic relations with Kabul, and yet you sent a delegation. The spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, clearly pointed out that, or rather underlined his unofficial status, saying that the delegation did not include any U.S. official. But yes, we succeeded in achieving the target, and that's why we are happy with this decision to sending an unofficial delegation to Kabul.
Anwar Iqbal Sahab, there was another issue. If you remember, a couple of weeks back, the US president announced that the leftover American weapons will also be, Americans will get back that particular weapon. So, anything on that?
I think this was also raised at the State Department, and I think what he indicated was that they will work on it quietly, and that they are, in principle, they want these people to be repatriated to the United States. They're not against the decision of the previous government. They said it was not. She actually said, the spokesperson, that it was an agreement signed by the U.S. Sorry, guilt of fasting. The U.S. and we will fulfill this promise made to the Afghans.
As you said, that it's a calculated move, visit by Zalmay Khalilzad to Kabul. Will this particular visit will keep Kabul and Washington close, and in the days to come, there could be more cooperation between Kabul and Washington when it comes to counterterrorism?
Well, it will be wrong to describe it as close or not close. The thing is that this administration will deal with anyone as long as it serves U.S. administration. That does not mean that it's going to actually build a close relationship with the Taliban, but it does indicate that these sort of direct or indirect contacts with the Taliban administration will continue, and this may not be the last visit of Mr. Khalilzad to Kabul, that he may visit the Afghan capital again if and when needed.
If and when needed, he could visit again. So, Zalmay Khalilzad, during his trip to Kabul, was also accompanied by some Arab diplomats. Which are the countries who are involved in this diplomacy?
Again, this country was named in State Department briefings and also in an official statement too. Yeah, Qatar. They said that we thank the government of Qatar in making this possible, in getting the release of this person.
Anwar Iqbal Sahab, there is another significant development that I mentioned in the opening. This sudden removal of Acting Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani's name as most wanted terrorist, and also as far as bounty which was announced for him, suddenly that was also removed. So what is this? And in the past, he was one of the most wanted by Americans, I mean Sirajuddin Haqqani. So does this indicate, this recent meeting, that there have been some breakthrough on some of the strategic issues, which is why Sirajuddin Haqqani's name suddenly removed?
Well, the breakthrough was obvious. I mean, that they got a prisoner released, and actually it was a tit for tat, give and take. It was a give and take agreement. They released the person the American wanted released, and in return, Americans removed Sirajuddin Haqqani's name from the list. So that was a give and take arrangement.
So now coming to, as you said, that in future there may be informal contacts between Kabul and Washington. But what is your analysis that in future, if Taliban continue to send positive signals, they continue to cooperate with the international community, they continue to cooperate with Americans, then United Nations, because you also cover United Nations and Americans, do you think in the years to come or in the months to come, America can recognize Taliban administration as an independent government?
I do not see that happening in the near future, but in the years to come, maybe. It depends on what sort of arrangements are made, how much in the United States. So far, there are no indications that America is going to recognize the Taliban government. It will be difficult. The Taliban will have to actually reconsider some of their policies, and the Americans will have to reconsider some of their policies, and that may take time. But this arrangement actually makes one thing very obvious, that there is a realization in Washington that they need some sort of connection, some sort of a venue to reach the Taliban and talk to them. Because in the past, this role was played by Pakistan now, but now Pakistan's relations with the Taliban regime in Kabul is very tense. So Pakistan obviously cannot go and negotiate with the Taliban. So the Americans have to do it themselves or use a third country, and they are doing both. They are using Qatar, which is a small country, and therefore it does
But
not
very
have
influential. Exactly, very influential.
very influential, and it has established itself as a negotiator and as a place where countries can meet and resolve the differences. That especially when it comes to dealing with the Taliban, they hosted the talks that led to the agreement with the Taliban. So I think the two things are clear, that Pakistan may not play a role in these talks, and that Qatar will continue to play a role, and that whenever needed, the United States will send its own envoys too, even though if not serving officials.
So earlier, when Sharifullah was arrested, there have been very positive message for Pakistan from U.S. President Trump. Thank you, Pakistan, and to American top officials. So, what does this meetings, particularly the outcome of this meeting, is there is any special signal or message for Pakistan that Americans, as you said, with the help of the Qataris, they can strike any deal, they can negotiate directly with Taliban. So Pakistan remains out, or Pakistan is still in Afghanistan's internal matters. As in the past several decades, Pakistan has been quite influential on Afghanistan affairs.
No, there is no signal for Pakistan in that sense. I think the United States wants a good, cordial relationship with Pakistan, and that relationship will continue. We are not going to obviously have the type of relationship that we had in the past, because those were very different circumstances. The United States has a direct presence in Afghanistan. It had its troops. It needed a third country to supply its troops. Pakistan had influences in Afghanistan, which Pakistan was able to use. Pakistan played in concluding the deal with the Taliban. It actually allowed or enabled some Taliban leaders to travel to Qatar. So, but now Pakistan does not have that kind of influence. I mean, even if the United States wanted to include Pakistan, I think Pakistan could not have done much for getting or not getting the release of a U.S. presence in Afghanistan, because it does not have the type of relationship with the Taliban now that could have persuaded the Taliban to listen to Pakistan. But Taliban are in a hostile mood, and therefore the Americans had to look for a third option, which did. Qatar is very influential, and America uses its own influence, and I think that is how it will deal with Afghanistan in future.
Anwar Saab, China is also spending a lot of time and effort on Kabul, and it is the only government which has recognized Taliban regime, and Taliban have their ambassador in Beijing. So what does these all indications and developments mean that China will remain close to Afghanistan with an intention and purpose to counter any possible future American presence over there? So there is also a Chinese element. Your thoughts on this angle?
Yes, you're right. China has a strong presence in Afghanistan. China has economic influences in Afghanistan. China is investing in projects in projects in Afghanistan. China wants to have access to mineral and other resources in Afghanistan, and China will continue to play this key role as long as Americans are not there physically. I mean, this can change only if America, if the United States and the Taliban establish diplomatic relations, which I do not see happening in the near future. So China will remain an influential power within Afghanistan.
Anwar Saab, you also keep very close eye on Afghanistan and Pakistan affairs, and as a journalist, you have been covering and you have been to Afghanistan many times. How do you see this? As you also mentioned that relations between Islamabad and Kabul are not warm. Taliban administration is not responsive to series of Pakistani requests that Afghan soil should not be allowed to be used against Pakistan for terrorism purpose. So on this account, Pakistan's special representative Ambassador Sadiq, and he's a very seasoned diplomat. He visited Kabul, held meeting with acting foreign minister and commerce minister. So do you think that once again Pakistan will be in a position to convince Taliban that Pakistan is their only sincere friend? They need to be sincere with Pakistan too.
I do not understand when we use the word sincerity in diplomatic relations and relations between countries. Sincerity, religion, love do not play a major role in relations between countries. Interest too. We will have to see whether it is in Taliban interest to have a close relationship with Pakistan or not. Yes, it is. They're a landlocked country. They need access to the sea. Well, the ports in Iran or India or Central Asia, well, Central Asia does not have a port, on in Russia can be used, but that is very expensive and are not actually workable. So Pakistan is an important country for the Taliban, but there is another angle that we in Pakistan tend to actually ignore. That is that the Pakistani Taliban have a strong presence in Afghanistan, that they cooperated with the Taliban throughout the American presence in Afghanistan for almost 20 years. And they sheltered Afghan Taliban in Pakistan's tribal area. They built close personal and organizational relationship with the Taliban. It is not possible. There are many Pakistani tribals who fought with the Taliban against the Americans, and before that against the Russians. So they have a very close relationship with the Taliban, with the TTP and other Pakistani groups. And because of that, that actually prevents the Taliban from mending its relationship with Pakistan, because those groups, like particularly TTP, do want to export the Taliban ideology to Pakistan. They do want a type of caliphate or Islamic state that they have established in Afghanistan. They want that type of state to be established in Pakistan as well. And there is also this feeling of Pashtun nationalism that enables these tribals to stay close to the Taliban. So unless we succeed in somehow building or reestablishing close relationship with the Taliban, we succeed in convincing the Taliban that it is in their interest to have good relations with Pakistan. Unless we do that, we will not be able to break the ice there. And I think Sadiq Saab is the right person to do this. He's a seasoned diplomat. We dealt with him for 4 years, and he's very hardworking, very knowledgeable, particularly on Afghanistan. He is a Pashtun, a Yusufzai, and he has a kind of access to the Taliban leadership that is needed for building bridges. He can work on this. But I do not see a major development in the near future. It may ultimately happen, and we do need people like Sadiq Saab to continue working on it.
Anwar Saab, these terrorist safe havens in Afghanistan is a source of extreme concern for Pakistan. And in one of the recent briefing, in the aftermath of this Jafar Express train incident, Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, which is mouthpiece of Armed Forces of Pakistan, its spokesman, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, along with Chief Minister of Balochistan, Mr. Sarfraz Bugti, they were unanimous in saying that there is a nexus among TTP, Afghan Taliban, and Indian intelligence RAW, and RAW is operating its network in Afghanistan against Pakistan. that needs to be dismantled. So please share your thoughts that what is India's interest in Afghanistan? We don't see large number of Indians in Afghanistan, neither large number of Afghans over there, nor heavy level trade between two countries. But yet there are a number of consulates, Indian consulates operating in Afghanistan. What could be the motive behind?
Look, Mateen sahab, it's so obvious. I mean,
Obvious.
it's so obvious. I mean, the relationship between Pakistan and India are tense. We are enemies. We have fought 3 wars. Whenever India gets a chance to hurt Pakistan, it does. And this is an opportunity for them to hurt Pakistan, to hurt its interest, to create trouble inside Pakistan. I do believe that Indians are heavily involved in Balochistan, and they will continue to stay involved as long as we allow them to do so. And it is happening because we have bad relations with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. It is happening because we have not been able to put our actually to look after our own affairs in Balochistan, because there are troubles in Balochistan, and the Indians are exploiting those troubles to create more problems for Pakistan. And at this type of, whenever they get an opportunity through Afghanistan, through Iran, or through any other sources, international or regional, they will use that opportunity to hurt Pakistan.
So is it this all India is doing because of China-Pakistan economic corridor? And one reason that
One
it is
reason,
definitely this is
one reason, but because of our relationship. I mean, we are enemies, right? So why shouldn't India, if Pakistan gets an opportunity, if there is a similar insurgency in an Indian province close to Pakistan's borders, Pakistan will exploit it too. I mean, let's be very frank about it. We are enemies.
So in the beginning, it was the former Soviet Union who invaded and who came into Afghanistan. How do you see the role of Russians in the entire Afghan crisis, which is Afghan crisis in the sense because presence of global terror outfits posing not only serious threats to Pakistan but to the regional stability as well. So where do you see the Russian role?
I think Russians do not seem to have much of an influence in Afghanistan. They also haven't shown any,
Interest.
well, not I'll say any interest, but great interest or greater interest in actually establishing themselves in Afghanistan. They do have some sort of relationship. They did in the past host talks with the Taliban in Moscow, and they tried to actually influence the peace process when the Americans were there. They did not succeed. The Americans ultimately went to Qatar, and they succeeded in signing a deal with the Taliban. So Russians have influence. They are interested, but not to the extent that they can actually influence major developments in Afghanistan.
So coming to this American visa issue, earlier there have been reports by Reuters and then by New York Times that certain categories, certain lists have been created. And State Department spokesperson in one of the briefing denied that there is no list. In one of the lists, Afghanistan was supposed to be among those countries whose citizens may not travel to the United States. But as I said, State Department denied. Tell us, because Pakistanis would be taking great interest. So where do these two reports, Reuters and New York Times, stand so far vis-a-vis certain orange category list and so category list of visas?
Well, the State Department spokesperson said there were no list, but she also confirmed that we are reviewing our entire visa policy, and that the major concern is U.S. security, that there are countries whose cities who do not have a secure environment, and allowing a free visa from those countries may hurt U.S. security interests, that these people may come to the United States and commit acts of terrorism. And that is why that's why she said that's why the Americans are reviewing their visa policy. And so, well, let's not call it a list, but call it a category or whatever you may want to call it, but they are working on it, and they will soon announce a new policy that will make it harder for citizens of some countries to come to the United States.
That includes Pakistan as well?
Nobody knows yet because they're not disclosing any names, but the reports suggest that there is what we call the red category, whose citizens will be totally barred from coming to Pakistan. Pakistan is not on that list or in that category. That Pakistan is probably, according to one report, Pakistan is the second list of orange countries, and according to the third report, Pakistan is on the third list of yellow countries whose citizen who would be asked to improve the security situation in their country if they want to avoid restrictions on their citizens visiting the United States.
Coming to this American trade wars, so far we have seen that Americans are also likely to impose more high tariffs on Indian imports to United States than Chinese imports, Canadian imports. We have already seen. Do you think that in future there could be any such move against Pakistani imports to United States?
No,
That
I don't.
United States imports certain goods from Pakistan exactly.
I don't see that happening because we also import goods from the United States, and we do not. We have not imposed the type of tariff that India does or China does. I mean, Indians do actually impose very high tariffs on American goods, and what the Americans are saying that if you charge a high tariff on our goods, we will do the same. And since Pakistan does not, I think it probably may not impact Pakistan.
So, taking the benefit of your patience, a very quick answer from you that all of a sudden we have seen ceasefire has collapsed in Middle East, in Gaza particularly. How do you see the developments taking place in future, as there are no indications of this any halt to the fresh aggression that is being done from the Israeli side against Gaza people?
I think the American policy has not changed. It is more or less the same policy that was implemented by the previous administration, the Biden administration. The policy is to continue to support Israel and to protect Israel's interest. And if there is a peace deal in Gaza, and if a ceasefire is permanently implemented, it will happen only if it protects Israel's interest. I mean, this thing has been raised at the State Department briefing, where they made it very obvious that the United States will continue to support Israel's right to exist, that the United States will continue to make sure that Israel is not attacked again, and that it will continue to ensure that Israelis succeed in eliminating Hamas from those areas. So whatever deal happens, it will happen under these these Israeli interests will be protected in that deal.
Anwar Iqbal Sahab, lastly, last time in his previous tenure as President of United States, Trump had indicated that he could mediate between India and Pakistan. After, if the Ukraine crisis is resolved, if there is peace in Middle East, even in years to come, do you think Americans will take some initiative to bring Pakistan and India to negotiation table? And can he mediate between India and Pakistan on all outstanding issues, particularly on Jammu and Kashmir?
Not in the immediate future. In the years to come, maybe. But for that, something will have to happen in the region. If there is a situation that requires American intervention, then America will. But so far, the Indians refuse to accept any third-party negotiation on Kashmir or on any dispute involving Pakistan. They say that it is a bilateral thing between them and Pakistan, and they do not want a mediator between the two countries. and I don't see that changing any time in the future. The Indians feel they are strong enough economically and politically to actually withstand any pressure from Washington or Beijing or London, and therefore they will not accept a third party in mediation, and the Americans are not going to actually persuade Indians to do so.
Lastly, there are large number of viewers who wanted to know that can America get prisoner 804 from Rawalpindi out? Is there any possibility that high-profile political prisoner could be out from prison with the American intervention?
I don't see America taking that type of interest in Pakistan in the near future, but you never know, as people say about Trump, that if somebody actually draws his attention to it, then he may issue a statement. He may actually use his influence to get Imran Khan out. But I do not see that happening in the near future. So far, Pakistan is not on their agenda. If anything, actually, they demonstrated that they are quite happy to deal with the Pakistani military when it comes to their interest. I mean, they did so in catching Sharifullah. And if something else happens in the near future and they need to involve Pakistan, or they need assistance from the Pakistan army, help from the Pakistan army, they will not hesitate to do so. Imran being a prisoner or not being a prisoner will not influence their decision.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your effort and time to participate in our talk show Inside, despite your very busy schedule. And you spoke on a variety of issues: Pakistan-United States relations, security issues in Afghanistan, Americans' high-profile delegation visits Kabul, and ties between India and Pakistan and Kabul, and a number of other issues, with hope that our viewers will definitely take deep interest in watching and understanding some of the complex issues in the region. Till our next program, goodbye and Allah Hafiz from studios.
Thank you very much.